Your inner being is inspiring you to new things, and you're having new discovery and new expansion. But by caring about what everybody thinks about it, it can go well or it can go bad. So we would say about social media or anything, until you're stable in how you feel about you, until you know for sure who you are. Some of them that don't have any capability whatsoever of understanding who you are going to tell you who they think you are, which is really not any of your business, or theirs really, but you're asking for it. So think, there could not be a better way to start this day, because think about this. What are your options? How are you going to explain to all of them, no, I really am good. I really am good. How are you going to explain that to all of them? That's why listening to your own inner being, who knows who you are, who's walked with you every step of the way, who knows everything that you lived and every piece of expansion. And here's the most important thing. Your inner being never looks back. And when you do, is to try to justify where you are. Your inner being only knows what life up to now has caused you to ask for, and your inner being gives undivided attention to that. Undivided attention to that. And when you deviate from that, you don't feel so good. You just have to be aware of your gut. You just have to be aware of how you feel. When you read some of those comments, and it feels bad to you, do you understand why it feels bad? Really, really, really why it feels bad? It's because your opinion of what they're saying, your opinion therefore about you, because of what you're reading about them saying, is so different from what your inner being knows. Your inner being isn't going there, and when you do, you cause separation. That's why it feels so awful. And you couldn't, if you had this lifetime and thousands after it, and you do, you couldn't make them behave. We have a question for you first. Do you think it's worthwhile that you went to all the trouble of being born into this body, into this physical time and space, knowing the freakiness of the masses? Knowing the incredible diversity and likelihood that most of them would not be able to get you, then we think social media is just fine for you. You have to come to the place where the opinion of others isn't what drives you. Here's the clearest, cleanest, easiest way to get this. When you are awake, you are always offering a vibration. And therefore, you are always under the influence of whatever's coming in response to that vibration. So, a question to ask yourself is, are you under the influence of your inner being? Are you thinking the kinds of thoughts that your inner being thinks about this and that? Or are you under the influence of social media? And that's not to say that you always feel terrible when you're under the influence of social media. We're not making them out to be the devil. There is no devil. We're not making them out to be a source of evil. We're just saying that if you will ask yourself, when you feel that negative emotion, what influence am I under? And realize that you're giving up being under the influence of your inner being and trying to take your cues and clues from others. Jerry used to say to Esther, it was a game that he played quite often in a restaurant where there were 4 bread plates on the table. And he'd say to Esther, you and I have a particularly good relationship, and here's why I think it's so good. And he would take one bread plate and lay it right on top of another bread plate, and he would say, see how compatible we are about all the things that we think about how we feel. And then sometimes Esther would tease him and just move it off kilter just a little bit. She'd say, well, except for that one thing right there. But a good fit, in other words, lots of compatibility. And then he would say, with some people, we're like this. And other people, we just barely touch the edge. And some people, there's just nothing in common at all. But what happens with so many humans is you want everybody to be this fit. And if they're not, then what do I need to do so that you'll be like this with me? I'll change. I'll be whatever you need me to be. And you, and you, and you, and you, and you, and you, until suddenly there are so many of them that you've got to give that up because you can't. So then you take polls, you try to decide what you need to be, and pretty soon you're not having very much fun in this life experience, because in your quest to find others to find something in you that they approve of, you lose your connection of your inner being who knows who you are and is with you about all of it, you see. So get your footing first and then. Dart in, dart out, dart in and dart out. Gain your footing and then have exposure to them. And sometimes Esther will say, I'm all alone. Sort of like, and I don't want to be. And other times she'll say, I'm all alone, and that's a damn good thing. I'm all alone. It's just me, myself, and I. It's just us guys all in harmony with each other. But when you're stable, once you've practiced being in alignment with who you are, you can go anywhere, because what they think of you will not take you off your kilter. It won't upset you, because what they think about you hasn't got anything to do with you. It's all about them. It's all about how they feel. All right, so now we're going to really get into this. You ready? Every subject is really two subjects. It's like a stick, where on one end of it is what you desire, on the other end of it is the absence of what you desire. Can you sort of understand that? So when you feel particularly frisky, when you are thriving, can you understand that someone who might not be thriving might take offense at your thriving? Because you have activated that stick and caused something to activate in them, and they associate it with you because they felt better before they noticed you thriving. And so, Jerry had a concept that he offered to us early on. We talked him out of it after a little while. But what he was proposing is, Abraham, don't you think that there should be islands of incarceration? So robbers all go to the same island and they just take things from each other. And murderers go to the same island and they just murder each other. And we said, those islands already exist. But something that you're missing is that one who fears being robbed will be on the island with the thieves. Because you get what you think about, whether you want it or not. And a hush came over the crowd. Well, it's worth thinking about, isn't it? And so there are these vibrational islands. What we're really doing here is the best job that we've ever done of convincing you to give up the fruitless and futile effort of trying to please others. And that does not mean be inconsiderate. That does not mean be your worst self and go out and do that to the world. That means tune into who you are and do that to the world. Because if you're not wanting to be under the influence of finding the appreciation or approval of others, but instead you're tuning to your source and that love that your source energy is a vibrational match with, so that you are solid and consistent in that vibration. Then as you go out into the world, when you are misunderstood, you understand that you're being misunderstood. You don't take it personally because you've got solid footing, because you know who you really are, and you're not anymore trying to get your solid footing from those who are wobbly and don't know who they are. And that's why you're mad at so many, because they're not solid enough to give you what you need from them. But you're looking for love in all the wrong places. You're looking for stability in the wrong place. You're looking for approval. You're looking for likes in all the wrong places. Success is joy. Success is that alignment and that being in that world aligned. It's feeling who you are. It's that confidence and knowing. It's that point of attraction. Success is being a vibrational match to your own vortex. That's what success is. We have never said that before. That's our forever standing definition of what success is. Success is vibrational match with your vortex. That's what success is. which means everything that you've ever wanted. Of course, it's easy to understand why you would think it's about the money or the material objects or even about the recognition, but it is about being a vibrational match to what your life has caused you to prefer and ask for. Success is, and satisfaction too, is moving in the direction of who you really are. Not looking back at who you used to be. Not justifying where you're going by explaining how much worse it was and how much better you deserve. Success and satisfaction are about moving in, not about getting there, just moving in the direction of who you really are and what you've asked for. There's lots of influence and positive influence and support, but you've got to set the tone of what you want to attract. So if you're feeling sort of vulnerable and insecure, what island are you on? And who are you going to match up with? And how much help are you going to get from those that feel the same way you do? Where your inner being is focused upon who you have vibrationally become. People mean really well, and people are really lovely, and we do not mean disrespect when we talk about your humaning. But in regards to what is your guidance and where to look for or where to feel for your sensitivity about where to go or what to do, the long and the short of it is, if it doesn't feel good, you're moving in the wrong direction. So when you're reading some of that stuff and you get that feeling and you start feeling so discouraged that you're not even sure that you want to continue, that's where you were at the beginning of this conversation. Discouraged by those who don't know what they're talking about, who are not tuned in, tapped in, turned on, who are not vying for your success, who are justifying their lack of success with their criticism of your success. You can't get poor enough to help poor people become prosperous, or sick enough to help sick people get well, or sad enough to help sad people feel better. You have to be what you would like them to also be. And when you be it, they might, in a weak moment when they're not defending and justifying and pushing against who they really are, when they've just awakened, because everyone's tuned in sometimes, you might catch them in a weak, not resistant moment, and they might get a whiff of your success, and it might uplift them to the success that they want. And when that's what's on your mind as you present the things that you present, because you are an uplifter to the very core of your being, that's who you are. You are a teacher, 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 teacher. That's who you are. And a teacher's got to teach. And some of them are ready for you and some of them aren't. And you cannot evaluate the success of your teaching by those who are not ready for you. That's not uncommon as you're doing that humaning thing where you're comparing your abundance with their absence of abundance. It's not uncommon to then come to the flawed premise that you have to justify your abundance, that you have to pay some price for it. You don't have to pay a price for it. That'll just get you all balled up. You don't have to pay a price for it. There's no price to be paid. But that's hard, because if you're doing something, you can pick something up and move it over there, and there it's done. I've accomplished it. Where this crap we're talking about here, we don't mean to be disrespectful of our own work, but we got that out of some of your minds sometimes. You can't see it or hear it or smell it or taste it or touch it. And so you sort of in the beginning have to take it on faith. You have to take it on how it feels to you before you can witness the results of it. That's what we meant earlier when we said, when you know that you have quieted your mind and you know that your vibration has risen and you get an idea that you haven't had before and you follow through on that idea and it pays off, then you have shown yourself what absence of resistance will bring to you. In other words, you sort of have to show it to yourself. That could not have been better.